Episode 31 of the Habs Culture Podcast. My name is Arkady Bertaja. I'm alongside Justin Schwartz. Last time we recorded, the Habs we were a bit disappointed in the way the Habs were playing. Since then, they won 2 out of 3 games, which is exciting. Big wins, big losses. So who knows what this team is going to be. But let me recap. So they beat the Detroit Red Wings 6-1 at home at the Bell Center on a Saturday night. And they lost to Seattle in the first ever game against the Kraken 5-1, which was very embarrassing. And then a 4-0 win in San Jose for the first time since 1999. Imagine. So they broke some records.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was nice to see. I'm not, again, we are absolutely not going to get ahead of ourselves here. I mean,
not at all.
Right? I mean, and I watch these games, and I think, Mark, is that I don't really go in with very many expectations, just like I don't go into the season with very many expectations. Yeah. And I just tell myself that if they look, I'm cheering for them. I want them to win, of course. But if they lose, it's just another day. It's just another day watching hockey, because at the end of the day, I mean, losing might benefit them in the long run. But again, let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. They won a couple games. It's nice to see them putting some pucks in the net, right? That's a change from what we saw last week and the week before that. So, look, there's not going to be too much to discuss today. But again, I think we'll focus mainly on the fact that there's a couple players and a couple key names that have been contributing or not contributing at all, and we'll look at that.
Yeah, I don't know how long this episode's going to be, but we'll go through all 3 games for as much as we can remember of those games.
I mean, we always say it's going to be 25, 30 minutes, and then it always ends up being 45, 50.
Yeah, because we're talking about Sami Nicu's hair, right? Anyways, we'll start in Montreal when they hosted the Detroit Red Wings on a Saturday night. It was the 23rd. And they won 6-1 thanks to a Matthew Perreault hat trick. The first Quebec-born player, may I remind you, to do that since Vincent D'Anfous. I'm pulling out these facts. I don't know. Yeah, look at me. And,
I look, I'm not a huge Matthew Perreault guy. I'm not going to lie. I think I like him for what he brings to the table in terms of fourth line stability, maybe a little grit, a different style of play as opposed to what we've seen in the past on the fourth line. But I can't say I'm too much of a fan of where he's playing within the lineup and in terms of who he's playing with. I don't think that we talked about this last time, and it's funny because we talked about this before he had this game, and I knew the second it happened that it was going to be, oh, here we go, I'm eating my words. But I still stand by my comments, and I still stand by the fact that I don't think that Cole Caulfield should be playing next to Matthew Perreault. And I think that's one player, and I see that you want to chime in here.
Yeah, I think say that Evans is hurt, right?
Right, correct.
What about
So that's true. But if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong here, but before Evans went out, was that Evans' spot within the lineup, or was it a miss?
No, he was the third C, and then it was Perreault and Paquette and Brooks.
So he's it's a placeholder right now, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So look, I mean,
I think so at least, but now he scored a hat trick, and
you never know. But again,
they retired the jersey.
Right. And the problem is that we say, right now he might be a placeholder, but at the end of the day, he's still got power play time in a couple of the games to start the season. And I mean, it looks as if Ducharme wants to give him, maybe additional minutes as not compared, but, in as opposed to just 5-on-5. So it's a little scary, and I still stand by my comments that I don't think that he should be playing with Caulfield and Toffoli. And I think that might be a big reason as to why Cole Caulfield is in a little bit of a slump. And I think that, you can tell me all you want that he gets all the power play time, which is true. He gets a ton of it, but 5-on-5 is important too. And it's important to get your legs going at 5-on-5.
The other scorers, I don't remember who they were. It was Paquette 3.
Yeah. So Paquette 3, Ben
Dvorak, Ben Sherratt.
And Mike Hoffman on the power play.
And Mike Hoffman, yes, his first as a Hab. What a shot that was. Beauty.
Yeah, it was a great shot. And now, to date, he's on a 3-game goal streak. Three consecutive games with goals for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, exactly. And we were even talking about it last episode. Just give the puck to Mike. And look what he did. He scored.
And that seems to be now in the past couple of games kind of something that they've been trying to do a little bit more often. And I think it's worked out in their favor more times than not. But I think also it's funny because we're saying get the puck to Mike, but it's also get the puck out of Jeff Petry's hands. Get it off Jeff Petry's stick.
Yeah.
And look, I'm really the first guy to defend Jeff Petry as a player and what he brings to this team and what he has brought to this team in the past. Right now, it's just not it. It's just not it.
He's not the same. He was at this time last year in the Norris voting. Right? Remember that. He was in Norris voting, and everyone was like, wow, this extension's going to be amazing for the Montreal Canadiens. And now you're watching him play and you're like, what's going on? Because usually he's better without Weber. When Weber's out of the lineup, usually Petry takes that huge step forward and becomes a Norris guy.
Mhm.
And now you're watching him play, and the decision making is just so off. And he's trying to do too much with the puck, not keeping it simple. It's really disappointing.
It is
It's
disappointing.
sad.
And you know what? I don't think, again, I'm gonna use this. This might be the new phrase for this upcoming season, getting ahead of ourselves. But I don't want to get ahead of myself in terms of Jeff Petry and his play so far, because I do think that he's the type of player that the puck just needs to find the back of the net, and then all of a sudden you'll see him on the score sheet a few times, and
A lot like Caulfield, right?
Right. And a lot like a lot of players around the league who thrive on offensive production, because we're not going to tell ourselves that Cole Caulfield is, a two-way player. He's a sniper, he's a goal scorer, and I'm not going to say same for Petry, but he's more dominant offensively than defensively. So with that being said, I mean, the second that gets going, I think we'll see. I think people will start talking about it a little less, and they'll play with a little less weight on their shoulders.
There's a lot of players that need to start to get going on this team, and I think that's why they're so inconsistent. We'll say, right?
Oh, don't bring up that word, Mark. Don't bring it up.
Felt like ages ago, yet it felt like it was yesterday. That when we were saying all that. Anyways, Toffoli needs to get going. Like, Toffoli just doesn't look engaged. It looks like the Stanley Cup Finals where he was injured. That's what it looks like when he's on the ice. Absolutely. He doesn't look engaged, doesn't look there. I understand Toffoli's the type of player where he's always in the right spot at the right time and he just finds the back of the net. He's not the type of guy to go from the red line and just charge into the offensive zone and snipe one. Like, it's very rare that he does that. He did it, but it's very rare. He needs to get going. We obviously know about Caulfield. We know about Petry. Another name who I'd like to see, get on the score sheet a bit more is Christian Dvorak.
Absolutely.
I just think if that line, because Drouin's playing well, Drouin's playing very well.
Very well.
Anderson's playing like Anderson. If he's 100% there, he looks like the best player on the ice, and if he's not, then he just looks like a regular skater.
Right.
But if Dvorak can start getting some goals, some assists, some confidence with Drouin and Antti, I think that's gonna be a very good line. They're already playing well, but I think it could improve.
No, absolutely. And look, I watched a little bit of Dvorak in Arizona, and he had a bigger role than he does with the Montreal Canadiens because, Arizona is just not as deep as Montreal is. And I think that he was depended on a little more in terms of power play, in terms of PK, and he's still getting that role. But I think he's overshadowed by a few other names on this team that are expected to do a little more than he is. So with that being said, I saw what he can do in Arizona, and I think he's a great player that has a great mind for the game and knows where to be at the right time. I think that's going to come with time. And I think that what will also come with time is, a little bit more defensively responsible and making the right play and the right pass out of the defensive zone. But I wouldn't worry too much. Look, I think this team, now to generalize it a bit, I think this team, again, we talked about direction. We have no idea where they're going, but we're taking it game by game, and we'll see, and we'll evaluate game by game which players are playing well and not playing as well. And again, we're the type of fans that are not going to harp on every little move a player makes, right? They're allowed to make mistakes, but unfortunately, this organization and this franchise doesn't allow for that too much.
If you had to, I'll just throw you a question.
Yep.
If you had to choose one player of the game against Detroit that's not named Mathieu Perreault because he scored a hat trick and it's pretty obvious, who would it be?
It's a very good question.
If you can remember, because I know it was a while ago.
Yeah, I actually have a name in mind, and it was actually his first NHL game as a Montreal Canadien, and it was Sami Nico.
Yeah, there. Okay, that was my. Yeah, exactly.
And if I had to give another one, I'd probably say Drouin. But Drouin's looked like
Mhm.
probably one of the better players on this team throughout the first 7 games of the season, 8
Yeah.
games of the season, whatever it's been. But you know what? I'm going to give a lot of credit to Sami Niku here. And I want to hear what you have to say. And I'm not going to talk about it too much. But I
Mhm.
think that Sami Niku really brought something to this lineup. Look, he's not a game changer. He's definitely, by no
No.
means is he a game changer, but he's a game changer in terms of the situation that Montreal was in before he came into the lineup, right? They hadn't won a game and they needed someone who can maybe give a change of scenery and give a change of environment and maybe try something new. And they slotted him in on the second power play. He picked up an assist, 2 assists, sorry. And I mean, look, there wasn't really much to say about him that was negative. So I was really happy to see him get a shot.
He's just a breath of fresh air
That's it.
on defense. You know, like that puck would get dumped in and he turns around, just rifles it down the ice to someone who's wide open, waiting at the blue line. Like he doesn't wait. He takes it and he moves the puck. And he's good at it. And there's even some passes where he makes it and I go like, ooh. But it hits the mark. But it's very risky, but it hits the mark.
Mm-hmm.
But there's none of those defensemen on the Habs that are willing to take that puck and make that pass, that risky pass or that breakout pass that becomes a 2-on-1 or that becomes an odd man rush. You know what I mean? There's not many of those players. I think there's none. If we're really looking at this roster, there's none.
And you know there's one player that usually does, but again, we talked about him playing scared, and that's Alexander Romanov, right?
Yeah.
And that's why last night, and I want to stay on the Niku subject for a little bit, but that's why I was so happy he scored last night, right? Because he hadn't had a point up until last night. And it was nice to see him score and maybe gain a little bit of confidence because that's what it does to a player like Alexander Romanov. And maybe he'll start playing his style a little more and show, hey, I know what I can do. And you just saw it firsthand. And let me show you a little bit more, right?
Yeah, Niku seems more offensive. Like Romanov, the more we watch, the more we realize like he's a lot like Alexei Yemelin. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he can do something offensively, but he'll just lay the ball. Like his timing is amazing. It's impeccable on defense.
Did you see that
For
hit
a young
last night?
defenseman. Yeah, he'll wait and he'll lay you out along the boards no matter who
Yeah.
you are. Whereas if you look at Sami Niku, some of his pinches, like if I'm Jake Allen,
little risky.
I'm yelling at him after I make a 2-on-1 save.
Right.
But he brings that offensive side that we don't have, and that's why I think he shouldn't get taken out of the lineup, even if he makes those mistakes, because he's willing to move that puck forward and quickly, which is good to catch a team on a line change, to catch Josh Anderson flying up the ice. Because how many times you see Anderson flying, even Drouin for that matter, and Sherrod just waits. And he waits.
Well,
or Pichu tries to do it himself.
And I think the pros for what Sami Niku offers outweigh the cons for his little mistakes, right? Just like many defensemen on this team. There are I'll name a couple, but you know what Romanov, and I like Romanov, so that's why I always mention his name.
Romanov is such a good kid.
But I like Romanov and Sami Niku. Like I think those are two players on Montreal at least that the plays that they're able to make in terms of pros really outweighs the mistakes that they make. And look, I'll go back to the first game of last season when Romanov made that stretch pass. I don't know who it was right up the middle of the ice, led to a breakaway and a goal. But anyway, like again, I know he's not necessarily the most offensive guy. I know Niku is a little bit more offensive in terms of his style of play. But I'm not going to take anything away from these two guys because they can actually really put up some significant numbers if they play a little less scared and are willing to make mistakes in order to succeed.
Yeah, I like his play a lot, Sammy. He had a good game also against the Sharks. We'll get to the Sharks game later.
Yep.
We'll move on to the Seattle game because that's where obviously he had a bit of a rougher time, but the whole team had a tough time against the Seattle Kraken, who are a team, man, that they're like their forecheck scary. And a lot of people kind of predicted that by the way they drafted, you know, Yanni Gourde, Brandon Tanev, but they don't give anyone any room in your own end, and the Habs couldn't even get anything going.
And that's a play style that I really wish that was implemented into the Habs system. I'm
at least the line, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly. And look, I'm a couch coach, like, or a couch ref or whatever you want to, whatever they call it, couch GM. I'm a couch everything. But when I watch this team play Montreal now, I'm gonna implement Seattle here. I think that Montreal plays a very lazy style of play where they dump the puck in, and I've said it countless times. They don't chase, they don't forecheck aggressively. And we saw on Tuesday night, if I'm not mistaken, Seattle really bring it on the forecheck, and they
Mhm.
retrieved a lot of pucks from that technique and that style. And I think some alarms should be going off in Ducharme's head and saying like, look, like this worked against us. Why don't we, you know, make the changes that are necessary that were used against us and implement it against other teams. Because now you're playing against 82 teams. You're not playing against the same 10 teams over and over again.
Yeah.
So now you're going to be able to catch some teams by surprise and maybe catch them off guard by using a different style of play and using other teams' style of play against them.
Yeah, I'd like to see them use their skill, right? Because you have Mike Hoffman on the wing, you have Cole Caulfield on the wing, Suzuki in the middle. The only guy, obviously, Gallagher can retrieve pucks. Armia, amazing. Lehkonen, amazing. But use that, like even Armia, Lehkonen, they have speed. So use that speed across all four lines. Your wingers are fast, they're talented. Unlike past years where our wingers or the Habs wingers were not as deep as they are this year,
Mm-hmm.
use it to your advantage. Zone entries. I'm just thinking of that Lehkonen goal against Vegas to win that series. Fly into the offensive zone on an odd man rush 3-on-2. You move that puck left to right, you score.
Well, that's it, right?
You
And I
get
mean,
into that zone with speed and with confidence, especially with talented guys like Drouin, Anderson flying
mhm.
down the flank. It'll look good. We just don't see it.
Yeah. And I mean, in the playoffs last season, the one thing that was the biggest difference for me was that this team was not cross the blue line and dump or cross the red
Yeah.
line and dump. It was more carry the puck in, use your skill, and create legitimate opportunities. And again, I know they won 2 out of the 3 last games by putting up goals as well, but I still see a very similar style of play. So again, I can't contact Ducharme personally, and I as much as I wish I could, but I do think that they should start using, like you said, using their skill to their advantage because a lot of these players have a ton of skill. Jonathan Drouin is playing with a different level of confidence than we've ever seen.
Mhm.
You mentioned Anderson and his style of play. You have a guy like Nick Suzuki who's a two-headed monster at both ends of the ice, but has a ton of skill. Cole Caulfield, Mike Hoffman, like the list goes on this team in terms of depth and in terms of skill set. And I mean, if you're not going to use it, it's going to go to waste. And these games are kind of overshadowing their style of play that they've been playing. But let's see a complete game
Yeah.
of using what they have to their advantage.
And a complete game, I think we'd like to see a good power play for once. Because that game against Seattle, where Mike Hoffman scored to tie it, and they got a power play right after that, you could have completely shut that crowd up and taken over that game if you put the puck in the net on the power play.
If you go
Yet,
2-1,
nothing happened.
right? And
Nothing happened. It wasn't even like momentum building. It was just moving the puck around, and then Drouin missed 2 passes to Niku, dumped it in his own zone twice, and then just the rest, they couldn't get settled. It's 2 minutes wasted, and the other team builds momentum. Some guy flies out of the box all happy, and then they build off of that.
yeah, they built off their penalty kill, right?
Exactly. And the Habs can't build on their power play. And even at that, they can't even build their PK like they did last year because their PK isn't that good either.
Yeah. And to add to that point, right, is that when you even you don't even need to be scoring a goal on the power play necessarily. It's about getting quality chances, and quality chances then lead to further goals. Maybe later in the period, maybe a couple minutes after the power play occurs. But with that being said, I mean, when you're getting absolutely nothing going and you're flat-footed and you're just standing there and waiting, for the perfect shot and passing the puck around the dots, doing absolutely nothing. I mean, there is no momentum and there are no quality chances being created. So there's absolutely nothing going, and then that translates to a momentum builder for Seattle in this case.
What were your thoughts on Jake Allen's game against Seattle? Obviously, we know what happened against San Jose, but against Seattle, he
Look,
he didn't
yeah,
look like himself. That's what I'm going to say. He didn't look like himself.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm also going to say that I think that this team leaves him out more times than not.
Oh, definitely.
Leaves him out to dry more times than not. So I think it's very tough to put it on Jake Allen. Not to say that he wasn't himself, which is a very valid comment
Mhm.
in this case. But I still think that like there was no goal support, there was no defensive zone support, like there was nothing. There was no game that the Habs were not playing hockey. That was again what we call shinny, right? That was shinny hockey.
Nothing against. Look, he had a regular game. He was against San Jose. He was a superstar, and he made the big saves because that game could have gone downwards very quickly if it wasn't for Jake Allen. And those heroics weren't in Seattle, and that's what made the difference. we can't always rely on your goalie to make the heroic saves.
No, not at all. And I
He
mean,
had a
look,
regular game, and it showed because the team played bad in front of him. So I'm happy he bounced back. We'll get to the San Jose game in a few minutes. I just want to talk about Seattle a bit. Thoughts on their jerseys?
I love them.
They're so nice.
I love them. I think they're. I mean, I'm not going to compare them to any other jersey in the league, but I really like the color scheme.
It's great because we don't see it, that
No,
color scheme.
it's like what do you call it? Like a turquoise blue? Like I don't know. It's cool though. It's really
And that red little
the
stripe.
red little eye in the middle.
Yeah.
Like it's really
Yeah.
cool.
There's one thing though. I don't know why the S is so big.
It is very big. Yeah,
It's huge.
it is.
Especially on the white jersey. I don't know if it's bigger or it just looks bigger because it's a white jersey, but it looks massive.
Yeah, you're right. It does. But regardless, I think it's a
Very
it's a
nice
stunning
jersey.
Yeah,
And
color
their
scheme
arena
and
is
everything.
dope.
Yeah,
Very
it
cool
is.
arena.
It is. Yeah, it is really cool, and I like the concept too. You know, the Climate Pledge Arena. You know, switching it up a little. And look, again, I mean, now I, we've talked about. I mean, not recently, but we've talked about the NHL and their lack of promoting the sport. And I think that getting another team into the league, right? That was evident, and that was going to happen. But capitalizing on the opportunity to create another fan base. And I mean, I know in Seattle they have the Seahawks, and I'm blanking on the other sport. I know they have the Mariners, and I know that those are two pretty big teams, mainly the Seahawks. But I mean, now you're kind of building a fan base in Seattle for hockey, and that's huge to bring the sport of hockey and the NHL to a broader segment of the population, right?
They did a really good job. I don't understand the whole banner situation that's going on.
The 1917, if I'm not mistaken, or 1907.
Yeah, they beat the Habs.
Yeah, but they in the cup.
Yeah, they won the Stanley Cup technically.
Yeah, well, it wasn't them.
It wasn't them.
It was another Seattle team.
How many teams were in the league? 3?
I honestly could not tell you. I mean, whatever.
People are going to DM us going, well, then why do the 1918 Stanley Cup winners like the Montreal Canadiens, why do their banners count towards your 24? Yeah. Anyways, so I won't make that argument. But again, they retired number 32 already.
So, that was interesting to me.
You know, it wasn't even because of the 30-second franchise. It's because they sold 32,000 season ticket something. I forget something about their fan base buying something, and it hit 32,000 on the dot. Plus the fact that the 32 or the 32nd expansion team or 32nd team, I guess it kind of made the perfect case to retire a number. I don't understand why you would retire a number. I guess they just wanted to add on to the show.
Right. They and look, I mean, I saw that also being done when what was it? It was the first game of the season, and it was like Giordano's has the first shot on goal in history, and the first faceoff win is Jared McCann at 20 minutes left in the period. Like, okay, like no one really cares all that much. Like, I mean, literally. I don't really care about even who did it in Montreal's history. So why would I care about?
Yeah, exactly. They were pulling up stupid stats.
They were just trying to add to the whole.
You're just milking it.
There you go. And it was a little too much. And look, I there's one thing that I want to talk about quickly, and I don't want to go into too much detail here. I really don't. I just think it's important to bring up because look, I mean, there's people that listen to this, and I'm sure that they want to hear our take on it. The whole Chicago situation.
Oh, okay. We're going to that.
I don't want to talk about it too much again. I just think that it's important to bring up and at
100%.
least acknowledge it, right?
Especially that we have a platform to be able to speak on.
And again, what I'm trying to say is I don't want to go into the details and the legitimacy of the situation. I really don't. I just want, because I think that we do this for a reason. We do it to talk hockey, but there's bigger problems in this league than just winning and losing. So I just want to acknowledge it, and Kyle Beach was very brave to come out and say that on TSN and in that interview, in that 20 to 25, 30-minute interview. And I think that he's helping a lot of people, and I think that it's a great job and bravery on his part. So like, good job.
Yeah, I'm sure we speak on your behalf. I speak on your behalf also, that we commend what he did, not just to talk about what happened to him, but to try and prevent what will happen to others. I think that's what the most important note is of this whole situation, that he's not doing it for himself.
Oh,
That he
absolutely not
came
right.
out to protect others and to let people know about what happened, not to get someone in trouble, not to get attention towards him, but to prevent anything, to get that message known. And the National Hockey League, it's not all fun and games about winning cups and playing hockey.
Mm-hmm.
There's deeper things, and deeper things that got, or stuff that crossed the line that got thrown under the rug, which shouldn't have been accepted at all within anyone in the organization of the Chicago Blackhawks and anyone within the whole league that would have known of that incident at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it disgusting that there's not one human being within that organization that said, guys, I won't say it, that we're in the cup final.
Yeah, exactly.
This just happened. We got to figure this out first because it's not normal.
No, it's not. It's not.
And again, like you said, we're not going to go too deep into it.
No, I apologize for throwing it onto you so
No, it's fine.
there. I just thought that, I mean, again, I didn't want to go a whole episode without talking about this because I think that it's relatively, it's very important. Not relatively, it's very important.
So. And look, Jonathan Toews spoke, Duncan Keith spoke, and
Patrick Kane
spoke. Do I believe what they said? No.
I don't.
Do they care about my opinion? Obviously not. But it just seems too. There's no way you didn't know. There's no way. And you already see Joel Quenneville now. He resigned.
Yeah.
Coach of the Florida Panthers. Stan Bowman resigned as GM because he was the GM. It was his first year as GM when that happened.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Cheveldayoff is still there.
Kevin Cheveldayoff is still there, and Marc Bergevin is still there.
And that's another conversation that we could have.
But again, we don't know.
Yeah, we have no idea. But
he was a director of something.
I think it was a player development at the time, if I'm not mistaken. I searched it up. And again, whether it be Marc Bergevin, whether it be Jonathan Toews, whether it be Kevin Cheveldayoff, who cares? Who cares who it is? It's just the problem to me is that I really, as much as I like some of these guys as players and, as being a fan of the NHL and certain teams and certain players, it is so tough to accept the fact that it's hard for me to just tell myself, yeah, they didn't know. Because how do you not?
How didn't you?
I mean, I don't believe that for a second.
And Toews, his comments were, I only knew the next training camp, but then he followed up by saying, we're just trying to focus on hockey.
But even if you did know the next training camp, you still didn't say anything. I mean, 1 year later is still better than 11.
It really, it makes no sense how. But even during that run, I don't care what's happening, whether you're on a 4-game losing streak or you're 1 win away from the Stanley Cup. If you're the owner and someone told me that, how do you even say, you know what, we'll take care of it in 2 weeks when it's done? You can't even say that. And not only was it 2 weeks, it was 10 years.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's 10 years because the guy came out because no one did anything about it. Yeah, it reached upper level management. It reached the owners, but no one did anything about it.
I'm just in pure and
utter my mind.
Yeah, I'm in pure and utter shock, and I think, again, I brought it up. I think we can leave it at this now. I think we made our comments. But yeah, just I don't know. I don't really have any words. Whatever.
Well, wait, before we end it, we'll end it on a lighter note. And again, for Kyle Beach, we'll just say again, we commend him.
Absolutely.
We appreciate what he did to come out and be courageous like he was, because not many people would have done it. And the fact that he did it in such an unselfish manner, he's a hero.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
And we thank him, like, seriously, because this allows you're when you're preaching to a large audience like this, like he is, and when he's telling his story and telling what went down, you're really giving people the confidence to come out and do the same for their respective situations. So we thank you and appreciate that.
On a lighter note, the Montreal Canadiens played last night in San Jose. They won for the first time at the SAP Center, or whatever it was called back then, since 1999, which is huge because it's very embarrassing that you haven't won since 1999 when the team showed up in the league in 1992. Like, hello.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on.
What?
Hold on. Oh, sorry. I thought you said that. Okay, I thought that you said that they haven't won since 1991 in that arena, and they only showed up in
No,
1992.
no,
Okay,
99, and they showed
right,
up in
right.
92. They hadn't shut out the Sharks, I think, since 93 or something like that, or 92, like right when they showed up. Anyways, it's still so embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. It
The
really is.
Sharks just looked horrible. I think it's that simple. Yeah, like I'll give credit to the Habs; they had a good hockey game, but the Sharks just looked horrible.
Mhm.
They look dead in the water. No pun intended.
Yeah, they did. And you know what? I don't think there were many expectations on the Sharks going into the season. Because, the whole situation with Evander Kane and you kind of lose Martin Jones. Not saying that's a huge loss, but I mean, you're still losing pieces
Yeah,
from a run that they made back in 2018. Correct me if I'm wrong, or 2017, 2018.
a lot like our run.
Right, which they don't. I don't think they made the playoffs the following year, did they?
That's no, because they traded that Carlson pick.
Right.
Well, they traded the pick for Carlson. That pick became
Jo-
Stützle. So
Did it? Oh, right. Yeah. So
yeah,
anyway, so the point that I'm trying to make is that there's not many expectations on this team, and I think that they were bound to lose at one point because they were playing very well.
they're playing
Right?
very well, very good
Logan
hockey.
Couture, Timo Meyer, Eric Carlson looks. I'm not going to say to be his old self, but he looks better than he has in previous years. So
I
it's
don't know
good to
why he
see.
cut his hair though.
Yeah, it's weird. I like that flow. Like it suits
Yeah,
him, right? Like I don't see him
what a
anyway.
that's one player. Like a lot of people say, like, God, Derrick Rose,
Yep.
what could have been.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Eric Carlson had a Derrick Rose type injury. Obviously, Carlson got hurt.
It was still his Achilles, though, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, okay, yeah, fair. It just he was a top 3 player in the National Hockey League.
not
This
even
was the
top three defenseman. It was top three player,
Yeah, he
right?
was one
Like
of the best players to ever to play hockey.
it was incredible.
It was
And
Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, and Eric Carlson.
right.
Then obviously Nathan McKinnon showed up, but I'm just saying, like he was crazy, and now you just watch him play, and he has those little sparks of offensive talent. Even Burns, man.
Yeah. But
He,
again, let's not forget, and I'm gonna fact check this before I say anything. Um, sorry, but how old is Brent Burns? Like
I wouldn't even be able to tell you he could shave his beard and look 28, or he
he's
can keep the
36
beard and
right
look
now.
34. Oh, 36. Wow.
So I mean, look, I'm not saying like Brent Burns
Wow,
was playing it on the
36.
yeah, crazy, eh? Because without a beard, he looks like he's 28.
Yeah.
And Eric Carlson, I feel like he's 31 though. Like he's getting up there as well in terms of age for an NHL player in a physically demanding sport. So look, it's just nice to see some flashes of what was. Unfortunately, we don't know what well we do know kind of what could have been, but unfortunately, we can't say what if all the time. But regardless, I mean, look, to kind of get off the topic of the Sharks, like the Habs played a pretty good game. They looked better. They looked better. Um, a couple nice plays. You know what? I want to give a
He
shout
played
out
a
to Brett
solid game.
Kulak.
Brett?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. He doesn't really do anything wrong ever.
I
Like
don't know. He's funny, Brett Kulak.
he doesn't
He's
make
just there.
turnovers. He doesn't make turnovers. He puts the puck on net once in a while. He knows how to make a breakout pass for the most
Mm.
part. I mean,
He
like
does his job. He just knows
right?
what's up.
But
And the thing about Brett Kulak is that he plays very good hockey for a good span of time. Maybe he has a few rough spells. Then every time he shows up to training camp, his spot is in jeopardy, no matter how he played this previous season. So, kind of
good for him.
commend him for
Good for him
he has to
for
make that
showing
spot
up.
every single year. Yeah, yeah.
But in terms of the game, I mean, I think once again Jonathan Drouin looked great. I mean,
He
I
looked
could say
great.
that for basically every game this season, but I'm so happy to see him back because there were people were saying, look, he's gonna come back better than ever. And I'm not gonna say that I didn't believe them, but we said that before, right? We've
Mhm.
said that before. And I know that he has a clear mind and it's so great to see him playing hockey with no real I don't think there's very many expectations. I mean, look, there's always going to be expectations for every single player,
Mhm.
but I don't think that that he has the same expectations being put on him right now. So he's just kind of doing his own thing, and it's great to see him making. He looks dominant with the puck, which is
Yeah,
unbelievable.
he looks very good. I liked Hoffman's game, of course.
Yep.
Um,
Jake Allen,
Jake Allen. What a game.
what a game!
2-on-1s, breakaways, sliding everywhere. tipped puck. It was a high stick, but he still tipped and made that left pad save.
Yeah. And he says he
Beauty.
wasn't worrying about the myth of 99 of the whole. Well, the myth. I mean, that's
Oh,
what
is that what he said?
Well, yeah. I saw a tweet saying that he said that he tried to put it behind him, but something tells me that it kind of got to him, and he was like, "Let me show prove not only my worth but our worth as a team." So cool. And Gallagher got his first. So
Yeah, just go to the net.
oh,
Typical Brendan Gallagher goal, right?
if he didn't whack that out of midair, that Josh Anderson pass / shot, whatever you want to call it, was going around the boards, and that was cleared out. So I mean,
It was hitting something or
I
no
don't
one.
know what.
I don't know what it was gonna do. It was he
Yeah.
just threw it on net.
Yeah. And Alexander Romanov got his first point / goal of the season. So
Caulfield had some chances, but
He
there's
did.
hesitations. There's because you see he has no confidence. You could see it right
he's
away.
been scared, right?
The hesitations, the pass that's on a stick, but he fumbles it. I don't know what he'll get there. He just needs like an absolute muffin to go in. You know what I mean?
You bounce off your butt, your face.
He's
who
probably
cares?
thinking of like a one timer or a night you walk in and wire it. Just honestly, a muffin between Jack Campbell's legs or something.
Well, look at the way Dvorak scored against Detroit. Like it went off his skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
That's a great example,
right?
Yeah.
Like who cares? So
That's a great example.
Agreed.
Before we were talking about San Jose before. I was thinking about last episode. We were talking about like which direction are the Habs going? Are they going to keep the Bergevin method?
Mhm.
I'm afraid if they keep this method of we'll keep the old guys, keep the young guys, and see what happens, they're going to become the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd like to have a conversation on this because I don't know necessarily if the direction of the Sharks is terrible right now because they've cleaned basically everything.
It's that $11 million cap hit to Erik Karlsson. It's the Marc-Edouard Vlasic cap hit, the Brent Burns cap hit.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot of money for no reason. And you have guys like Couture, who's a very good hockey player, and I think you should build around him. Meyer, very good hockey player. Hurdle, very good hockey player. Now they drafted Eklund, very good hockey player.
They have Jonathan Dahlin. I don't know how to say
his name.
Yeah,
so it took them a while to get those players, obviously, because they had to lose and pick those players. But there's still that. Why do you have a former no-risk contender who was a contender every year in his prime just playing like a bum on your team for $11 million instead of trying to ship him off, which you can't because of his cap hit, and just lose and build around Eklund, right? And Meyer.
And I think, honestly, that trade was the worst thing that could have happened, not only for San Jose, but for Erik Karlsson as well. And I say that
horrible for both of them.
For both, right? Because he's a great player, and I think that he was flourishing in his respective environment in Ottawa and doing his thing. And kind of, again, I'm not going to say Ottawa was a great team, but they showed some flashes of what they can do with Mark Stone and I think why am I blanking? But Matt Duchene played on the Sens for a little bit.
Yeah, he played that was the Kyle Turris 3-way deal with Sam Girard.
Right. So I mean, they had some good players, and then you had Brassard in the mix. Brassard, I don't think it was Brassard. Maybe. Anyway, sorry.
Brassard was there.
Okay, right. So they had this team, and I think that was very beneficial to Erik Karlsson because he was comfortable in his environment. But I mean, then for San Jose's case, you take on such a large contract, especially after the injury. It's a risky play to make, and I mean, at the time, I don't know what people thought of it, but I'm leaning towards people thought that it was a great move and that they acquired a stud.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, I mean, that's the problem with injuries is that sometimes taking those risks don't pan out. And in this case, it really hasn't. And that's why I said it was great to see him playing well.
It hasn't panned out. Not at all.
No, it hasn't. But that's why.
Win a cup.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to find the exact trade. I don't think you see my eyes moving around. Yeah, I'm trying to find the exact trade.
For Erik Karlsson.
Erik Karlsson trade, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. So the Sharks sent Chris Tierney, Rudolph Balcers, Dylan DeMello, Josh Norris, and an unprotected 2020 first-round pick. So, translation, it was Chris Tierney, Rudolph Balcers, Dylan DeMello, Josh Norris, and Tim Stützle for Erik Karlsson.
Wow, that's nuts.
Because they didn't protect that first-round pick.
That's insane.
Became the third overall pick.
Tim Stützle. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, look, it's easy to say now, right? It's easy to say, oh, well, this player was this pick, and
they were so close to a cup. They wanted to go all in, and they ended up having a horrible season.
That's
Like
too bad.
their pick jumped higher than Ottawa's pick. Like
Right.
Ottawa fell down to 5, but San Jose jumped up to 3, and Ottawa had 3 and 5, and they took Stutzla and Sanderson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I've made fun of Pierre Dorion many times. Many times have I made fun of him. However, he nailed the Karlsson trade, and he nailed, well, I'll say nailed the Stone trade. Not really, because Brandstrom doesn't look like we thought he would be.
Mm-hmm.
However, he still got a good return. But he nailed that Karlsson trade. Nailed it.
Yeah, he did. And I also think to date, he's done a very good job with the draft picks, right? I mean, it's hard to say right now, oh, Tim Stützle is, like what kind of player is he going to be in this league? But just from the eye test, he looks like an absolute stud.
Bold take. I'm not a fan of Tim Stützle.
Really?
Yeah.
We have a friend that's also not a fan of him. But what's the reason? Just out of curiosity.
He's a typical, you touch him and he falls. He's always complaining.
Right.
You slash him and he's looking at the ref and he's complaining. He's this, he's that. He just has that face. He's a baby. And I'm saying this on my couch, watching this talented player play hockey.
Right.
There's just something about his demeanor that I don't like.
That's fair. That's a fair comment. I don't know. I think from a talent aspect and from
very talented.
Yeah.
I won't take that away from him.
I don't know. I sometimes tend to overlook, again, the demeanor and the I guess you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? Just the character as opposed to like what they're actually able to do on the ice. Cause like he's not on my team. Like he's not on the Habs. Like there are players on the Habs that I would say, actually, I don't even know if there's many that I would say that I'm not a fan of their character. Like at least on this particular team. But I mean, I maybe if he was on my team, I would say, yeah, he's a great player, but he has these instances where, come on, like,
well, look at Ben Sherrod. Sometimes, like he gets mad, he just decides to stop playing.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's actually a perfect example of character because this guy, well, not even only stop playing, but take a penalty that was so
exactly.
far-fetched. Like, why are you swinging your stick around? Oh, speaking of swinging your stick,
Bennington, did you see that? What was that?
And he shot a puck at Darcy Kemper.
It's like the second time he does this every year, at least once. Some crazy thing. He chases someone. Though. What's wrong with him, man?
But that's a goalie for you, right? They have a mind of their own.
That's not a typical goalie. Well, the guy skates around like it's free skate, and he just throws pucks at people and launches his stick.
He like swung it at Kadri, and then everyone was freaking out. And then I'm not even joking. If the ref wasn't there, I think they're dropping the gloves. I really do.
He just talks constant trash.
Yeah,
no matter what's happening, he can get lit up 8 goals and he'll start talking trash to someone.
And you know what? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a very, very good goalie, but you have to be careful. He's overrated. Sometimes. You do? I think he might be a little bit underrated, honestly. I think he had one good season to the point where everyone was saying.
Well, he had one good cup run, in my opinion. Not even a good season. He had one cup run.
Right, but it's also easy to flip the script and say, some people might say, yeah, he only had one good cup run, but is that enough? Like, I don't know.
Is that worth a 6-year extension? It's like Ducharme.
Well, that I can agree. That I think we can agree was a little bit premature in terms of decision making.
But they've never had a good goalie, so
right.
It's like if Tokarski saved us. Imagine if he would have saved us and played like lights out.
Yeah.
All hail Tokarski.
Well, that's it, right? And then who knows what contract he would have gone.
Yeah, exactly. Would have been an elite backup goalie.
It's too funny.
We'll go to our question of the day. I don't know if you have one.
You got something?
I don't.
Okay, I have a decent one. Okay. What day are we today? We're October 29th, correct?
I think? Yeah.
So, I think the question could be, in the first month of hockey, right? I guess we can both agree that it's been about a month of hockey. Oh, no, not even. Not even. It started the 13th, right?
Yeah.
12th or 13th. So I guess you could say it's been a little over 2 weeks then, or about 2 weeks. So in the first 2 weeks of play, our Montreal Canadiens, or your Montreal Canadiens, are 2-6-0.
Beautiful.
Sitting with 4 points.
Wow.
In the Atlantic Division. 10 points back of Florida in first place. My question to you guys is, which player to date has been the most impressive? Why or why not? And look, I mean, if I were to answer my own question here, or actually, you know what? I'll ask you first because
Mhm.
I think it's important to give our takes.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm asking you first because it might force me to pick someone else, but I want to see where we're at.
For the Habs,
Yes,
there's only one player who's been consistent, and we already spoke about him.
Joe.
Yeah.
Right.
Again,
I-
I'm not saying I'm not impressed by him because I know he can do it. He's so talented, right? Like we know he could do that. That he can stick handle like that. And he can move the puck like that. I
Mhm.
just can't think of anyone else who I've been
So
impressed by.
that's the problem is that I now that I asked the question, I can't really go back. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, there's not really that many
There's
guys
not
that
really
I'm
that many
too
guys that,
impressed with.
yeah.
Um,
Still a good question because someone might say Mike Hoffman.
well, we could switch it up. We could switch it up. You know what? I might have a better one here.
Okay,
Sorry
let's
to
try
switch
this
it
one.
up on you guys.
Then we'll choose on
Let's see
social
what we
media.
think. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
you go. Montreal again sits at 2-6-0 in the Atlantic Division with 4 points, 10 points back to Florida in first place.
Mhm.
I guess my question is that in a month from now, so in November, end of November, where
Yeah.
does Montreal sit in the Atlantic? Like, where do you think they sit? Like, are they going to be at the bottom, very bottom? Are they going to be mid tier? Are they going to be in the wild card? Are they going to be at the top of the division? Look, I'm throwing out options here, but I'm curious because I think some people might have different takes than others, assuming that maybe they get on a
Yeah.
run or maybe they continue to be bad. Who knows? So
Mid-November?
end of November. So a month from today, basically.
Oh,
Like,
end of November.
yeah. So,
I say they're like 3-4 points behind the wild card spot.
see, that's bold. That's
I think,
absolutely
yeah.
because behind a while, okay, that would mean that the first. Oh my god, looking at the Atlantic Division, you have Florida, then Buffalo, then Detroit. Where did this come from?
Like, how many points are they behind a
Let's get
wild
this
card
clear
spot at
first.
the moment?
They are behind. Oh, the wild card. I'm gonna go check that out.
Because we know it was 10 behind first place, but I'm not really aiming for first place here.
I don't think they're aiming for first place either, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Let's see. Behind the wild card. So Detroit actually has the. Oh no, sorry. How many teams that come out of the wild card? 2.
Yeah, but of the Eastern Conference, right? So you have to check
Right.
the whole Eastern
Yeah,
Conference.
that's what I'm looking at. So right now, the Rangers have the first wild card spot. Tampa has the second wild card spot with 9 points. So Montreal has 4. So technically 5 points out of the wild card. So
Yeah,
you're saying,
I say 3,
oh,
4
see, I
points
don't know why I
behind.
thought that was bold. I thought maybe the guy in the wild card might have maybe 12 or something, like a crazy amount in I don't know. We'll see. But
I think
mean,
the
I
Habs
guess
are just
it's
going to
not
stay around the way they're playing, around
right.
500, and they're just going to stay at that spot, and they're not going to move.
Right. Okay. That's
You
fair.
can go
Look,
on
I mean,
a 4-game win streak and then a 4-game losing streak, and you know what I mean?
look, I'm basically in the same boat as you. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I could see them, picking up a few wins and then ending up maybe 1 or 2 points out of the wild card, like if they're
Yeah.
lucky. But again, I don't think, and I'm speaking for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have too many aspirations for this team this year.
I'm going to
But
cap at celebrating a second place. Imagine how sad that is. I walk around. Yes, we got second place.
Final.
Stanley Cup final. Look at us.
Oh my
We
god.
had the opportunity to play 7 games in a Stanley Cup final, but we didn't even make it to 5 or 6.
It's too funny.
What
But
a run.
what do you think about that question? Like, it's all
It's a
right.
good question.
I mean, it's again. I think it definitely gets the brain going there because you never know. So
Good prediction.
I could see someone coming out and saying, second wild card spot. Like
I could see someone saying they get relocated.
there's a variety of outcomes. So
Who knows? Some of the answers we got on Instagram, we don't read them for a reason.
yeah,
Some of them are very bold.
yeah. We don't say them out loud because
Yeah.
we should do that one time though. Like we should do like your boldest takes for
Your funniest, boldest take for this season.
like yeah, like we can maybe do that for next week and see
Yeah.
what people say.
Yeah, we could do that.
Oh, but but don't forget we have to do our bold predictions for the next game.
Oh, when's the next game's tomorrow at 4, right? Against the Los Angeles Kings.
It is
4:00. Look at us.
Get that prime
Afternoon
time.
game. Look at that.
Prime time
In Los Angeles.
in LA.
Against Philip Deneau.
who had a kid.
Yeah,
Who was
we won't say
slapping
that. Yeah, you saw that tweet, huh?
I did see that
Okay,
tweet.
we won't say it.
Just
Um,
kinda threw off guard there, but whatever.
yeah. I was like, wow. Anyways,
Yeah, whatever. You guys could go check it out for yourself.
yeah, you'll
I'm
find it.
pretty sure Arpon Basu tweeted it, so
Yeah. Should I continue with my trend of Quebecers and former Habs players laying up the Habs so you can
what did we
look
say last time? Because I think I said a Brett Kulak goal, which, came pretty close, but didn't hit. And I think I said on the other side, I think I said something about Lucas Raymond, if I'm not mistaken. I
I
don't
said a
think he had a
Zadina goal,
right.
and I said that Jeff Blashill had a higher chance of scoring than the Habs score on the power play.
It's funny because it happened to be that Matthew Perreault was the guy, the go-to guy in that game.
He was. So let's see what your guess is for the next game against the Los Angeles Kings. I have mine, by the way.
Okay. You can go ahead. I think I have mine, but I want to make sure.
I'm gonna have 2 goals from Tyler Toffoli. His return
Okay.
back to Los Angeles, his first time back in LA.
Oh yeah, wow. Oh, because of COVID, right? So he
Traded to
wasn't able-
Vancouver, then COVID, the bubble, and then Montreal
Right.
on offseason, Canadian
Absolutely.
division.
Absolutely, I like that. That's a good take. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with a point, or sorry, yes, a point from every player on the Anderson, Dvorak, Drouin line.
Oh, okay.
So like goal, assist, whatever. Like I mean, I
Yeah.
guess you can technically get. You know what? It's a bold take for a reason. I'll say 2 points from everyone on that line.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay,
my
that's
take.
fair.
I mean, I don't know how bold that is, but that would require them to, put some goals in the back of the net, and let's see
Yeah,
if Andy can get going, Dvorak can get going, and
definitely.
Drouin's been going, but let's see if they can all get going.
All right. That sounds good. We'll check it out. We'll see what happens, see if it hits, and we'll ask for your guys' predictions.
And we'll
once the game
also
come on.
ask which one is more likely to happen.
Oh yeah, we could do that also. We've done.
I
haven't done
love
in a while.
seeing that.
Yeah.
In our first ever episode, I remember I can't remember exactly what you predicted, but I know this just because it actually almost happened. I
Mhm.
predicted a Carey Price 30 save shutout or something.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was 30 saves, like don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But I think they ended up I don't know if it was winning by a goal or they scored 1 goal, the other team scored 1 goal in the third period, but I was like so excited because I was like my first bold take. Like, but it was pretty funny. But anyway,
Yeah.
good times.
Good times, great times. These are good times also.
Yeah, we're living the dream out
Living
here
the dream. Just talking about the Habs. No
in
pressure.
hockey.
Almost won a
stress.
Stanley Cup. Look at us.
Almost final.
Fun fact. You know what? We'll say it. Fun fact. We were gonna call the podcast the Driver 25 podcast, and then they were going to the Stanley Cup final, and I was like, oh god, we would have had to change our name if they would have won.
Yeah.
Would have lost all our followers.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, and then we would have to change it, and everyone would have woken up in the
26
morning and
and
said,
go.
what the hell's going on?
Yeah. Like what? Anyways, we'll end it on that note. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.